Thanks, KO. We swapped the boys out, and now we've got two other strapping gentlemen, Gab Marcotti and Stuart Robson. They're back. Gab, have to pick your brain on the Sadio Mane to Bayern Munich rumours and just the timing of it, because as Augie mentioned, these rumours have been floating about lightly for the last couple of weeks, but now they seem to be getting some traction. Thoughts on the timing of it and if it could actually happen?
I don't think this is linked to the Champions League final, to be honest. I think this is simply, I think Jules touched upon this earlier, this is a situation where Sadio Mane, he's got a year left on his contract, just like Mohamed Salah. He may or may not be the priority out of the two. Bayern Munich have a Lewandowski situation, of course, also a year left on his contract. And more importantly, I think Serge Gnabry, also a year left on his contract, and they do want to extend him. So throw in the fact that he has a German agent, he speaks German from his time in Austria, and inevitably, I think these stories are going to come out. Whether it comes to fruition, I don't know, because Bayern certainly have indicated that they would prioritize younger targets.
Robert, what do you think of it? And could this be at all any of a distraction going into this Champions League final?
I don't think it's a distraction. Certainly not for the other players, the other Liverpool players. And I think Gab's right, Jules is right. I don't think it's anything to do with the Champions League. He's just not particularly happy at the moment that he hasn't been offered, it hasn't been any sort of negotiations. I don't think it's going to be any distraction for the players whatsoever. Or Mane. I'm sure he'll have a decent game again.
So all mind games that we know definitely love to come to the front before these massive matches. Well, just speaking of this one as well, with the most respect to Bayern Munich, but why would Mane want to leave Liverpool? They're definitely, I suppose, in almost everyone's top two best teams in the world right now. They could have probably gotten a quadruple. They went down to the very last day of the Premier League. They just missed out on that title. They have a great chance. They are favourites going into this Champions League final. So why would he want to leave Liverpool to Bayern Munich?
I don't know. It's a question of him wanting to leave. I think it's a question of him wanting a contract. In a year's time, June 2023, unless he signs a new deal, he's not going to be able to play for Liverpool. So you could look at it and say, oh, why don't you stay and run out your contract? But would that be advantageous to Liverpool if they're not going to extend him? I mean, this is always the thing that we have to remember. Liverpool spent money on Jota. They spent money on Luis Diaz and stuff. In some ways, they have the replacement for one of those two guys, which is a very, very smart situation to be in. At the same time, you could afford to let one of your two stars go if you get the right price, rather than losing them for nothing at the end of the season. Liverpool do not have limitless funds. They have to run themselves like a real business.
Robert, what do you think? He still seems like quite a fan favourite at Liverpool, so why would he want to leave?
As Gab said, because there might not be enough money for him and Salah, and he wants as much money as probably Salah's got. They've got two replacements
saying
for him.
they're both greedy.
No, they're not greedy, but they want to be
they know their
valued.
talents.
They want to be valued. He's been a top-class player for Liverpool. And, you mentioned about Liverpool being, could have been a quadruple winners. Going to Bayern Munich wouldn't be a bad move for him.
No.
He's still going to play top-class football. He's still going to be an outstanding player. He could take the place of Lewandowski if need be. He could take the place of Gnabry. We know he can play in two different positions. So he'd be the ideal replacement at Bayern Munich.
All right, well, just the other day we were talking about X factors on both Real Madrid and Liverpool. Let's talk about Real Madrid now, somebody that definitely has stood out this season. I got to have the privilege of seeing his debut, where he scored on debut for Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu. Eduardo Camavinga. Gab, just how tempted would Carlo Ancelotti be to start him, especially when we talk about the aging midfield of Real Madrid, and we saw exactly how much he can affect the game in a positive way after that semi-final turnaround against City?
That's very true, but of course he affected the game off the bench. I think long-term, any manager gets excited about that right foot, left foot, Valverde-Camavinga combination. But you have Toni Kroos there. You've got Casemiro there. You've got Modric there. You can only send 11 guys out onto the pitch at any one time. I think I wouldn't exclude the possibility of a Carlo curveball, but I don't think it would be something like Camavinga. He's been very loyal to his players. The players have responded. They've been loyal to him. Being able to take him off the bench for an energy boost is a real luxury and could be decisive in a game like this.
And the other problem with Camavinga, if you started with him, which I don't think he will, Camavinga, in most of the games that he started, gets booked fairly early on in games, and then he's under pressure. And Carlo Ancelotti's actually taken him off at half-time in about 3 games this season because he got an early booking. So he's going to start with Kroos, and Camavinga will probably be a replacement at some stage in the game.
Well, we were just talking about Real Madrid's potential 11. We had Jules say exactly what he's expecting. We know Carlo Ancelotti is a man to stick to his guns, stick to his ways. He does keep a calm, cool head as well. Very rarely gets too flustered, unlike certain Italians here as well. Gab, how much tinkering with his team can we see, or how late or how much does he wait before he makes these big decisions?
I mean, pre-game, assuming Alaba is fully fit, I wouldn't expect that you're going to see a change, especially knowing that, again, the indications are that Fabinho and Thiago will both start. Were one of them not starting, if we would see, maybe more Henderson and Milner in there, maybe he might be tempted to play more of a possession game, maybe change things around a little bit in his approach. As it is, I think the only potential curve might be starting Rodrigo for Valverde, and I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to go with the lineup that got him here. During the game, obviously, you can bring Rodrigo off the bench for change of pace. You can bring Asensio, who I think in some ways has been overlooked. And obviously, you've got the Camavinga factor. So you can rely on all those things. You can bring in Nacho as well if you need to bolster up a little bit at the back. If Liverpool send on more strikers, or if you're having difficulty handling Diaz one-on-one. So you have those alternatives. I think Ancelotti, he doesn't toot his own horn, but I think he'd be pretty confident in his ability as an in-game manager, making the right substitutions at the right time, and I think he wants to keep his powder dry there.
Robert, do you foresee any curveballs?
No, I think the first change that he would normally make, if they're struggling, I think Rodrigo would come onto the right-hand side, and he'd take Toni Kroos off, Modric would go to the left-hand side, and Valverde would tuck in on the right-hand side of the midfield three. I think that would be the first change, and then Camavinga might be the next one to come on to add that little bit of bite and that little bit of energy to get Real Madrid back into the game. But he's not going to make too many changes before the game. That's what he's been criticised in Spain for not making too many changes, playing with the same line-out week in, week out. But it's actually worked for him. It's worked brilliantly for him. The players know exactly what the system is. They've formed these combinations all over the pitch, and I think he's done an excellent job.
The one wrinkle I would throw in there, though, which might make this slightly different, is for the past 3 weeks, they've basically rested, right? They've played some games here, some games there. He's never had this luxury. So I'm just wondering if maybe that might prompt a slightly different approach, if his indications are that maybe they had a mini physical top-up, some kind of shortened preseason in there, something that might be the only thing that might prompt a curveball at this stage.
All right, well, we have something special coming up for you guys, but before I get it, let me get some quick predictions. Gab, starting with you, now that we're less than 24 hours away.
I find this so hard to call. My prediction is that it's not going to extra time. But you want to win it, don't you?
Come on.
All right, okay, all right. I'll say Real Madrid 2-1.
Real Madrid 2-1. All right, so he's sticking with Jules and Augie's picks.
I'm going to go with Liverpool 2-1. I stay with what I said yesterday. Frank said 3-1. I said 2-1. I'm sticking with it. Liverpool.
All right. Well, if you thought that this game was the only spicy thing that we're treating you to this weekend, have a look at this special feature. It's how we like to predict things during the UEFA Champions League final week. I'm just going to say it has to do with Frank Leboeuf, Stuart Robson in aprons. Have a look. As you know, here at ESPN FC, every year when it's leading up to the Champions League final, we like to do a nice little predicting game where we try to predict the winner of the Champions League final in a very creative way. So forget when in Rome, because this is when in France, and when in France you make croissants, right? So I've got Stuart Robson and Frank Leboeuf, who is here, and they're going to be representing the two teams in the final. Robbo is going to be representing
Real Madrid.
And Frank, you're going for Liverpool.
Liverpool,
yeah.
That's because he hates Real Madrid.
He's angry that Real Madrid dumped out Chelsea, right?
A bit.
A bit.
Just a bit.
You guys ready?
We are.
Let's go for it.
We're ready. Let's bake.
I think you need to be a bit more aggressive.
That was his weakness.
Come on, Robbo, be aggressive. Be
aggressive
aggressive.
Delphine, am I good?
Yes, very nice.
Don't forget I'm French.
now it is the moment where we can find a winner in this prediction game. The croissants have been made, the pain au chocolat have been made. Mine are perfect, but they're just too good to be added to go up against these guys. So it's between Robbo, who's representing Real Madrid, Frank is representing Liverpool. Delphine, I know you know which ones are already going to win.
Hang on, before we
Delphine.
go on.
Oh, yes, before.
Just before we go on, it's all about who was listening the hardest, who paid attention, who tried to do the right things.
Robbo, you can't
not
throw
just
your way
about
out of
all this
everything.
wit and all laughing around
Okay,
all the time.
he has his words. He can say whatever he wants. But don't forget, with me, you will never walk alone.
Oh,
You
geez.
see?
So I would just like congratulate you for the croissant because you both made some really nice croissants. And I would say that I feel like Stuart's pain au chocolat are rolled a bit better.
Oh,
Just because here the seam is too much on the side.
Well, but it works because of
You weren't listening. You weren't listening, Frank.
she's right, but it doesn't look like a pain au chocolat, those ones, or whatever. But-
So I would say 7 out of 10 and 8 out of 10. So it's very close.
You know what? You play crap,
Yeah.
and you win. Like Real Madrid.
So Real Madrid is the winner. If we're going to go by our croissant pain au chocolat challenge, that means Real Madrid, thanks to Robbo, will win the Champions League final come this weekend. And you know what? The way things have been going for Real Madrid, it's not out of the ordinary. So even though Robbo went with
I'm a
Real
good
Madrid,
listener. I'm a good
he's
listener.
a good listener. He flirted his way out of it, though, Gab.
He certainly did. I think she really, really likes her. She has a thing for.
He also told her she has a nice smile after.
Did
Well, she did have a nice smile. There's no question about
look
that.
at Robbo. What a strapping
And
gentleman.
it's
And
not-
I won.
And it's obviously not a bald thing because obviously Frank was pretty well versed in that category as well.
Yes, Frank is absolutely offended. That's why he couldn't come here tonight, but he'll be back with us tomorrow. Don't you worry, Kay. But as for now, look at Robbo. He might have to come over to Bristol so that he can make croissants and pain au chocolat for all of us. Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.